we've got Ancient Aliens guy introducing us to Pluto in Aquarius. Now, Pluto is a planet that has a big reputation.
Justly so.
Well, yeah, he's been, yeah, I am using gendered terminology with these planets. It shows my age. But I guess because I relate it to the mythological god, the lord of the underworld, Pluto brings us themes of obsession, crisis, manipulation, violation, compulsion, corruption, death, rebirth. It's a planet to really get your teeth into. And much like the myth of like Persephone being taken to the underworld, with Pluto, you don't have a choice. Like, it's going to happen, and you can like go willingly or you can go kicking and screaming. So Pluto
or
is
both.
Yes. Yeah, if you're a Gemini, that won't be an issue. So Pluto's coming out of Capricorn and going into Aquarius. Both are Saturn-ruled signs, so I think there will be some kind of continuity of themes. And also too, because like Saturn's also connected to death and the underworld, there's a certain comfort I feel of Pluto in those Saturn signs. It's like familiar territory. He knows what to do there.
It's good. It's interesting because when you use the analogy of Pluto and death, which we all know but try and avoid, there's been a huge thing in the last couple of years about how we deal with our dead people, as in how do we bury them? We're running out of space as humans. And all of a sudden it's become very, very a hot topic about, well, what are we doing with our remains once we leave this earth? And so that was really interesting. I wonder what that's going to look like when Pluto moves into Pisces, if we use land differently for ceremonial death rites, and work out different ways, more environmentally friendly ways to be dead or to...
I think so. There's 8 billion of us. Like, where do you bury 8 billion people? Like, you're right, there is not enough turf. Personally,
on Mars.
Oh my gosh. Why don't they just leave Mars alone? Yeah, I would like to be shot into space if it's a possibility when I cark it. Just the dust. I don't want to be in a container, because I imagine the oh gosh, this is getting a bit dark. The decomposition process may not occur as expected in space as opposed to Earth. That's something I will probably be Googling later.
Yes, we will. So when Pluto's in Aquarius, we've got this massive big shift. Now, most of us started our astrological studies when Pluto was moving into Capricorn. So this is big. This is, to me, as soon as I went, oh, wow, our data, our internet data, our browsing security is going to be massive for this transit. There is a cost, there is a value. Pluto is the Lord of riches. And this data that we've been giving away for free online forever in a trusting and naive way is now being used by those Pluto in Capricorn entities to come back around at us, and we get targeted advertising, we get hacks, we get scams. It's just becoming really, really obvious in Australia that there is a lot of data breaches occurring that we're not being told about them. That's going to have to be worked differently. And so this will be really just on a very immediate level, lock down your data, get your VPNs, and just be super aware that anything that you have done online since Pluto moved into Capricorn will rear its head.
Yeah, I think that's interesting too. And that idea of Pluto as a wealth planet, but there's also a cost to companies for storing this data, and also the cost of it if it gets leaked out. So I think that the cost of how that data is moved around and exchanged will become increasingly apparent. Another thing with Aquarius having that kind of sciencey, techie focus, I think Pluto, because Pluto's always like, Pluto's the planet that looks under the rug and go, what's that? We need to take a look here. And I think there will be exposure of scientific scandals and corruption. And perhaps that will have to do with fossil fuels, the riches of the underground, which is also a Pluto thing. It could equally be, like I've read a little bit about there's a narrative about, say, certain diseases. I've been hearing some stuff about Alzheimer's, and it's about plaques in the brain and stuff. But there's some research that says that it's to do with viruses. But, the large scientific discourses, much like corporations, these entities aren't bringing up those new ideas, the offbeat ideas. So ideas that don't conform to the mainstream narrative are being shut down. And Aquarius is the perspective of the outsider. Aquarius doesn't take a mainstream approach. So there is that sense of topsy-turviness that could come with Pluto and Aquarius. And you brought up conspiracy theories, Sandra.
I do. I see this as being a time when a lot of the conspiracy theories that we've shrugged at and said couldn't happen, but what an interesting way of looking at it, they're actually going to be proven true. And I do. I really, you can see it. And I mean, there's all of this stuff being released in America from Area 57. The government knew about the aliens. And this is crazy alien guy on your screen right now, who I just adore. But there's stuff that has been hidden from us for our own well-being. There are a lot more of us now. We are more able to communicate with each other through technology on a minute-by-minute basis, second by second. Stuff is going to come out and we're going to get to know about it. That's something that wouldn't have happened 30 years ago. You had to be in the deepest, darkest areas of the very small interwebs back then to know any of this stuff, and you were definitely viewed as an outsider if that's where you were hanging out. Yeah. So we've come full cycle. But yeah, I honestly watch and wait. There will be some really wacky conspiracy theories that are proven true. I'm keen to hear them and see them and check if I'm on the right page.
Yeah, it's hard to know which ones are just too weird, and then which ones are the Aquarian outsider upsetting things and bringing a more egalitarian, truthful approach to what we're experiencing. And I think too that comes with the Aquarian idea that we are equal. And we don't need to kind of be protected from ourselves and told what to think and what to do by elites. So this shifting with social power, a push for more egalitarian access to knowledge. It's an air sign. A resurgence of unionism, I think, will be a thing. Some minor European royal, you might want to get a job because there's going to be pressure on you proving your worth. You're not just going to be able to coast on the long history of exploitation, because it's going to be brought up and put in people's faces.
Well, Pluto in Aquarius, if you'd have to be living under a rock not to know that, this is incredibly prominent in the US chart at the moment. They're going to be having a huge return. So it's the revolutions and the rebellions, the reinvention, and the rules that serve just that small group of people, which none of us knew about for a very long time. And that information has become more prominent with us all diving into the internet. Back in the late 90s, early 2000s, there was a movie called Zeitgeist, and it blew all of our minds. I know that me and all my friends shared it around, our little burnt illegal copy, which is very Aquarian. But it feels like that might be coming home to roost. There's definitely the information that the masses need to know, us being the masses, is there for us to, as you said, lift up the rug and have a look, and maybe even sweep it out and have a little dissection of, well, how did that end up there? And what part did I play in that? Because we all have willful ignorance. when it suits us, and Pluto in Aquarius demands that we see.
Yeah. The blinkers will come off about how we've been controlled and allowed ourselves to be controlled. It's a bit sort of, that bread and circuses, like keep the population busy with things that they enjoy, and they won't ask questions about the political hierarchy. One of the things, like the last time Pluto was in Aquarius, it was incredibly revolutionary. There was the American Revolution, the French Revolution, the Industrial Revolution. Britain set up like a penal colony in Australia, and there were huge shifts in global geopolitics and economies, and so that is likely to happen again. And the thing with that is, if you think of those, the slogan, if you will, of the French Revolution, liberty, equality, and fraternity, that's very Aquarian, but off with their heads is very Pluto. So these lofty, the lofty talk isn't just talk. People are willing to get their hands dirty to manifest the ideals in the Saturnian world.
Yeah.
So it's not all like the age of Aquarius. It's not a just 70s hippie musical. This is big.
Yeah, and blood will be shed. It's inevitable that as societies demand change, there's a lot happening worldwide at the moment where plutocracies are absolutely in charge. And without going too far into it, what's happening in Iran at the moment seems very archaic from my perspective, sitting here in Australia as a white woman talking on screen about whatever I want to talk about. And there are people over there being beheaded in the street for saying one thing about the government. So there's this sense that society is going to demand to be treated as a society, not as under a dictatorship.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here's some key dates of Pluto in Aquarius that you might want to watch for, either in your own chart if you've got planets around 0 degrees of the fixed signs, and also still late degrees of the cardinal signs, because for half of 2023, Pluto will be back in Capricorn. So Pluto moves into Aquarius in March, fairly close to that transit of Saturn into Pisces. So that's a big pivotal month, March. But he's only there for 3 months. So he doesn't get very far. He does make a key aspect for the year to Jupiter. And that 0 degrees is certainly a point to watch. It's also the degree, notice that 0 degrees Aquarius of the retrograde beginning in May. That's also when the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction, which was big news in 2020. So these things don't happen in isolation. What we do today happens because of the decisions we made yesterday and will affect the choices we're presented with tomorrow. So it's a cycle, it's a wave, it continues. For the second half of the year, though, Pluto will be back in Capricorn retrograde and doesn't get back into Aquarius until the early 2024. So it's the transition, as I mentioned, fairly early on. But jot down those dates and degrees. Here are Sandra's details. She really does make beautiful remediation products. I'm wearing some mercury beads right now. With
which are my first. Oh my God! Hi, Maria. Yeah, I've got some.
And she makes beautiful spritzes as well. They're really, really lovely as well. It plays to just kind of have a play with this stuff and see how it goes for you. I think remediation is a nice sort of overlap between witchcraft and astrology, and it doesn't have to be a whole big thing. I think astrological magic has a heavy masculine leaning, and there is a bit of play there. Sometimes you just need something. So these moments are really valuable for getting amongst here's my little bit of promo. I am now calling my membership group Magical Mentoring, because I want to get into juicier stuff. We talk about astrology, but also this magical and spiritual context that is part of it. And I'm also offering the Pleiades, which is a peer support circle for metaphysical professionals. We've got Kylie here. She's a member of that group. Kylie's a psychic medium. So yeah, we talk about all the business stuff that we have happening in the background. So those will be opening up, they're in a bit of a lull for Christmas and New Year, but we'll be opening up very soon for 2023 with a heap of enthusiasm that I'm bringing to it. So if you interested in finding out more about that, hit me up. That is I'm not so much on social media anymore, but pretty much you can find me, Kim Fairminer, on Facebook, Astrology, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. There's my website. Most of you know how to find me, and I've got my phone number. Give me a damn call. I'm a Gemini. You can ring me